On the night little Max disappeared, the rain was so loud it drowned out everything else. The wind slammed against the windows. Thunder shook the house. Trees bent under the storm like they were trying not to break. And somewhere, in all that darkness, a tiny golden puppy was alone. He had only been with the family for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. That was all it took for Max to become the heart of the house. He was small, clumsy, playful, and always seemed to have too much energy for his tiny body. He chased his own tail, barked at his reflection in the glass door, and fell asleep in the strangest places, inside laundry baskets, under the kitchen table, and once even in a shoebox. To Emma, Max wasn't just a puppy. He was her best friend. And that night, he vanished. For 30 long days, nobody knew where he was. No one knew if he was cold, hungry, hurt, or even alive. But what happened next shocked the entire neighborhood. Because when Max finally came back home, he wasn't alone, and what he brought with him changed everything. Emma was 9 years old when Max came into her life. She had wanted a dog for years. Every birthday candle, every coin tossed into a fountain, every quiet little prayer before bed had been the same wish. A puppy. Please. Just one puppy. Her parents always said no at first. Dogs were a lot of work. Dogs needed training. Dogs made messes. Dogs chewed shoes and scratched furniture and barked at strange hours. But Emma never gave up. She read dog care books from the library. She helped feed the neighbor's Labrador whenever they traveled. She even made a hand-drawn poster titled, "Why I Am Responsible Enough for a Puppy," and taped it to the refrigerator. By the time her 9th birthday arrived, her parents finally gave in. That morning, Emma came downstairs expecting pancakes and a wrapped present. Instead, she found a tiny golden retriever puppy sitting in a blue basket with a ribbon around his neck. At first, she froze. Then the puppy looked up at her with big dark eyes, wagged his tail so hard that his whole body wobbled, and let out the smallest little bark. Emma screamed, not in fear, in joy. She dropped to her knees, wrapped her arms around him, and started crying happy tears into his soft golden fur. His name became Max before breakfast was even over. From that day on, they were inseparable. Max followed Emma everywhere, through the hallway, into the backyard, even to the bathroom door where he'd sit and whine dramatically if she was gone too long. He slept beside her bed in a little dog cushion, though most mornings Emma would wake up to find him somehow curled against her slippers instead. He had a habit of carrying around one red sock he had stolen from the laundry basket. No one knew why. He just loved it. He'd proudly walk through the house with that sock hanging from his mouth like it was a trophy. He was a puppy in every sense. Curious, chaotic, sweet, and completely unaware of danger. Which is why what happened that stormy night still haunted Emma for years. It happened on a Thursday evening. The weather had been strange all day. The sky turned gray by noon. By dinner, the wind had started howling around the corners of the house. Emma's mother kept glancing out the kitchen window and saying the storm was going to be bad. After dinner, Emma took Max outside for a quick bathroom break before bed. The rain hadn't started yet, but the air felt heavy and electric. Max ran across the backyard, chasing leaves that blew along the grass. Emma stood on the porch in her socks, arms crossed against the cold, calling for him to hurry up. "Max, come on, boy. It's almost raining." He turned, barked once, and ran toward the side gate. That gate. It was old, wooden, and sometimes didn't latch properly unless it was pushed hard. Emma didn't know it had been left slightly open. One gust of wind hit. The gate swung wide, and before Emma could even react, Max slipped through the opening and disappeared into the dark street beyond. "Max!" Emma ran barefoot into the yard just as the first drops of rain started falling. She reached the gate and looked out, but all she could see was the empty street, trees thrashing in the wind, and shadows moving under the streetlights. "Max!" she screamed again, louder this time. Nothing. Then thunder cracked overhead. Her father grabbed a flashlight and ran outside. Her mother threw on a raincoat and called neighbors. Emma stood under the porch shaking, crying, and calling Max's name over and over until her voice turned raw. They searched for hours. Up and down every block. Under parked cars. Behind garbage bins. Near the park. Along the drainage ditch at the end of the road. But the storm got worse. Rain poured so hard it blurred the streets. Water rushed along the sidewalks. Thunder exploded above them. Max was tiny, too tiny, Emma's father kept saying, to survive outside in weather like that. Still, they didn't stop. Not until after midnight, when Emma was soaked, shivering, and too exhausted to stand. But even then, she refused to go to bed. "What if he comes back and I'm not here?" she whispered through tears. Her father knelt beside her and held her shoulders gently. "We'll keep looking in the morning," he said. Emma looked at the open front door, hoping, praying, that she'd see a little golden shape come running in. But the doorway stayed empty, and the house, for the first time since Max had arrived, felt unbearably quiet. The next morning, the storm had passed, but Max was still gone. Emma's family searched all weekend. They printed flyers with Max's picture, his fluffy ears, bright eyes, and goofy smile. At the top, in large bold letters, they wrote, "Lost puppy Max, golden retriever, 4 months old. Please call if found." They taped the flyers to lamp posts, grocery store windows, bus stops, and community boards. Emma walked door to door with her father, asking strangers if they had seen him. "Did you see a small golden puppy last night?" "No, sorry. Maybe near the park." "No, sweetheart. I hope you find him." Every answer felt like another door closing. Days passed, then a week. Someone called saying they saw a puppy near the highway, but it wasn't Max. Another person thought they heard barking in an abandoned shed, but when Emma's father checked, it was empty. The family visited shelters. They called veterinarians. They posted online. They left Max's blanket and food bowl on the porch in case he somehow found his way back by smell. Emma stopped sleeping properly. Every sound outside made her run to the window. Every barking dog in the neighborhood made her heart jump. At school, she drew pictures of Max in the corners of her notebooks. Her teacher found her crying in the bathroom one afternoon and called her mother. At night, Emma would sit on the porch steps holding Max's red sock, the one he always carried around, and whisper into the dark, "Please come home." By day 15, hope began to fade. By day 20, neighbors stopped asking for updates. By day 25, even Emma's parents started speaking more softly, more carefully, as if they were trying not to say what they were both thinking. Maybe Max wasn't coming back, but Emma refused to believe it. "He knows where home is," she said. "He'll come back. You'll see." No one had the heart to argue with her. What Emma didn't know, what no one knew, was that Max had spent those 30 days surviving in a world far bigger and crueler than a puppy should ever face alone. The night he ran through the gate, Max had chased a piece of paper blowing across the street. Then the thunder hit. Startled, he bolted. He ran past 2 houses, then 4, then turned a corner he had never seen before. Rain soaked his fur. Water splashed into his eyes. Every sound was frightening. Car engines, barking dogs, trash cans rattling in the wind. He tried to go back, but he couldn't remember the way. By the time the storm ended, Max was lost. He spent his first night under a broken wooden bench behind a convenience store, trembling from cold and hunger. The next day, he wandered through alleys and side streets, sniffing everything, searching for something familiar. He was too scared to approach most people. A few tried to help, but Max would run the moment they got close. He learned quickly where to find dripping water near an air conditioning unit, how to hide under parked trucks when it rained, which barking dogs were behind fences and which ones were not. But hunger was the hardest part. Some days, Max survived on scraps near trash bins. Once, an old woman at a market tossed him a piece of chicken. Another time, he found half a sandwich dropped near a bus stop. Still, he grew thinner. His paws became dirty and sore. His fur lost its shine. And every night, when the streets went quiet, he would curl up somewhere cold and lonely, missing the warm little bed beside Emma's room. Then, around the 3rd week, Max found the place that changed everything. It was an abandoned storage shed at the edge of an empty lot near the woods. Inside, hidden behind old paint cans and broken boards, Max heard a sound. A whimper. Soft. Weak. Barely there. He followed the sound and found a tiny black and white puppy lying in a pile of torn cloth. The puppy was even smaller than Max. She was dirty, hungry, and had one paw that looked injured. Max sniffed her carefully. She lifted her head, just a little, and let out another weak cry. From that moment on, Max stopped being just a lost puppy trying to survive. Now, he had someone else to protect. No one knows exactly how Max managed it, but somehow, day after day, he kept that smaller puppy alive. He would leave the shed to search for food, then carry back whatever he could find: a crust of bread, a piece of sausage, a bit of rice in a torn paper container. Sometimes it was barely enough for one puppy, but Max always brought it back. He slept near the little puppy to keep her warm. When stray cats came too close, he barked and stood in front of her despite being frightened himself. When it rained, he nudged pieces of cardboard toward the opening in the shed, as if trying to block the water from coming in. He had no training, no plan, no understanding of how impossible this was. He was just a puppy. But love, or maybe loyalty, or instinct, or something even deeper, kept him going. And then, on the 30th day, something happened. Max caught a scent in the wind. A scent he knew. Home. Maybe it was the laundry detergent from Emma's house. Maybe it was the smell of the porch where his blanket had been left. Maybe it was pure luck. But whatever it was, Max recognized it. He stood at the shed entrance, ears up, nose twitching. Then he turned back to the little black and white puppy. She tried to stand, but stumbled. Max barked softly, then walked a few steps, turned, and barked again, as if telling her to follow. Slowly, painfully she did. And together, the two puppies began walking. It was just after sunset when Emma heard barking outside. At first, she ignored it. She had imagined Max's bark so many times that she no longer trusted her own ears. But then it came again. Short, familiar, urgent. Emma froze in the living room. Her mother looked up from the kitchen. "Did you hear that?" Emma dropped the book in her hands and ran to the front door. Her father opened it just as she reached the porch. And there, under the fading orange light of evening, stood Max. For 1 second, no one moved. He looked so different. His fur was muddy and tangled. He was much thinner than before. One ear had a small cut. His paws were dirty, and his eyes looked tired in a way no puppy's eyes should ever look. But it was him. It was Max. Max! Emma screamed his name and ran forward so fast she nearly slipped on the porch step. She dropped to her knees and threw her arms around him, sobbing into his neck. Max wagged his tail weakly and licked her face as if he had only been gone for a few hours. Emma's mother covered her mouth and started crying. Her father stood frozen, one hand still on the doorframe, staring in disbelief. But then Emma felt something nudge against her leg. She looked down. Behind Max, half hidden in the shadows, was another puppy. Tiny, black and white, shivering, and limping. Emma blinked through tears. "Dad," she whispered. "There's another one." Max stepped aside and looked back at the little puppy, then back at Emma, as if introducing her, as if saying, "I came home, but I couldn't leave her behind." Emma's father knelt down carefully. The small puppy didn't run. She was too weak. "Oh no," he murmured. "She's hurt." Without hesitation, Emma's mother grabbed a towel. Her father lifted the little puppy gently into his arms while Emma held Max so tightly he almost disappeared in her embrace. That night, both puppies went to the emergency vet, and what they learned there left everyone speechless. The black and white puppy was malnourished, dehydrated, and had a badly sprained front paw. The vet said she probably wouldn't have survived much longer alone. But this one, the vet said, pointing to Max with a smile, "I think he's been looking after her." Emma looked at Max lying on the exam blanket, exhausted but calm. A month ago, he had been a playful little puppy who stole socks and barked at butterflies. Now he looked like a survivor, a rescuer, a hero. Over the next few days, Max slowly recovered at home. He ate like he had never seen food before. He slept for hours at a time, often with little paws twitching as if he were still dreaming of running through dark streets. Emma refused to leave his side. She brushed his tangled fur gently. She cleaned his paws. She whispered to him at night and thanked him for coming back. The other puppy stayed too. Emma named her Luna because her eyes were bright and soft like moonlight. Luna was shy at first, but she followed Max everywhere, just as Max used to follow Emma. If Max went to the water bowl, Luna went too. If Max lay down for a nap, Luna curled against him. It was obvious. Whatever had happened out there, they had survived it together. A week later, Emma's father decided to investigate where Max might have been all this time. He drove around the nearby neighborhoods with some of the flyers still in the car, showing Max's photo to shop owners and people working outside. Finally, an older man at a convenience store recognized him. "That dog," the man said. "Yes, I saw him a few times. Always carrying food in his mouth. Never ate it there. He'd grab scraps and run off toward the empty lot near Miller Road." Emma's father followed the direction. There, Behind overgrown weeds and rusted fencing, he found the abandoned shed. Inside were torn pieces of takeout containers, bits of cloth, paw prints in the dust, and a small nest made from cardboard and old fabric. That's where they had been. That's where Max had hidden. That's where he had taken care of Luna. Emma's father stood there for a long moment, imagining that tiny puppy, lost and hungry, doing everything he could to keep another smaller puppy alive. When he came home and told Emma what he had found, she cried all over again. But this time, they were tears of pride. News spread quickly through the neighborhood. The lost puppy had come home after 30 days, and he had rescued another puppy along the way. People who had seen the flyers called to say how happy they were. Neighbors dropped off dog treats and toys. One local pet store even sent over a care package with food, blankets, and 2 matching collars. One for Max, one for Luna. Emma made a new sign for the fridge. This one said, "Max equals hero." She decorated it with hearts, paw prints, and a drawing of Max wearing a superhero cape. Luna healed slowly but steadily. Her paw got better. Her appetite returned. Her tail, once tucked in fear, started wagging whenever Emma entered the room. And one evening at dinner, Emma looked at her parents with wide, hopeful eyes. "So," she said carefully, "Luna can stay, right?" Her parents exchanged the kind of look parents exchange when they already know they've lost the argument. Emma's father smiled first. "I think Max already decided that." Emma burst into happy laughter and jumped from her chair to hug both of them. From then on, the house was full again. Actually, fuller than before. There were now 2 dogs chasing each other through the hallway, 2 bowls in the kitchen, 2 sleepy puppies curled up near Emma's bed. Max still carried his red sock around the house like it was treasure. But now Luna often trotted behind him carrying one of Emma's gloves, trying to copy her hero. Sometimes the smallest hearts carry the biggest courage. Max was just a puppy. He was young, scared, and completely alone in a storm. He could have given up. He could have thought only of himself. But instead, somehow, in the middle of fear and hunger and 30 days of being lost, Max chose kindness. He found another animal weaker than he was, and protected her. And when he finally found his way home, he didn't come back as the same puppy who had run through the gate that stormy night. He came back braver, stronger, and with a new best friend beside him. Emma used to say that Max was the best gift she had ever received. But after everything that happened, her parents said the same thing too. Because sometimes heroes don't wear capes. Sometimes they come home muddy, tired, wagging their tails, with another life they refuse to leave behind. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with another animal lover. And tell us in the comments, what would you have named the second puppy?